I've received several requests over the past couple days to give my take on the Black Lives Matter kidnapping story, and the primary reason why I've been silent about it is because I haven't really had any time for YouTube the past couple days. Had a lot going on. So, in lieu of the fact that I'm getting into this a little bit late, I'm going to try to keep this current by dealing with an article on the subject that was actually put out earlier today by Salon.com, which is basically standard fare for them. It is royally stupid, completely misses the point. However, I think it is necessary before I delve into this particular article that I just give my general view of the situation itself, what happened, and the people involved. As far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of the people connected with this event, the perpetrators of the event, and the people covering the event are all retarded. Every last one of them. The only person who is not retarded that is a major factor in the story is the victim. Handicapped, yes. Mentally perhaps disabled, absolutely. Not retarded. The four morons who thought that not only doing something like this was making some sort of statement, but were dumb enough to live stream it on the internet and think they wouldn't get caught with their faces showing and their voices for all to hear, positively retarded. The local law enforcement that refused to call this what it was from the get-go, retarded. The family members connected with these four idiots, probably massively retarded. Mental retardation tends to run in families. It's a combination of nature and nurture. The nature part being the defective genes that are passed on, and the nurture part not being at home. From what I understand, at least one of these individuals was raised by their grandparents, and their grandma gave the official statement on what happened. Where's mommy and daddy? Or should I say, where is mama and baby daddy? Who knows? But anyway, time to get into this piece of shit that Salon put out. And brace yourself, because it's pretty brutal. A brutal crime in Chicago shocked the nation earlier this week after four teenagers kidnapped an 18-year-old student and tormented him over Facebook Live, punching him, kicking him, and tearing off his clothing while he screamed for help. One of the best ways to gauge whether you're dealing with actual news versus a dishonest propaganda piece is to not only look at what is being said, but also what is not being said. Now, what is not being said here right at the beginning? Well, let's see. The fact that the victim was held for a grand total of 48 hours. You'll notice no mention of how long the kidnapping took. The fact that he was actually forced to drink toilet water. That was not mentioned either. And not only was he beaten with punches and kicks, but he was also cut with a sharp object to the point where part of his skull was visible where his scalp should have been. No mention of that either. Now, why would that be? Could it maybe because Salon doesn't want some of their younger readers to lose their lunch? Well, it is true that most people who read and take Salon.com seriously are probably mentally somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 years old, but I think it's more likely that they wanted to make the individuals that were the perpetrators of this event look a little less terrible. Sadly, myself and those watching are not dumb enough to buy that. Sorry about that, Salon. What made the crime a front-page story, however, isn't that it was live-streamed over social media. The perpetrators, Jordan Hill, Tesfaye Cooper, Brittany Covington, and Tanisha Covington, invoked the name of the president-elect during the attack. "Fuck Trump," the assailants yelled. "Fuck white people." And in typical Salon.com fashion, within the first paragraph, things have already descended into total dumb shit territory. First off, the reason why this went viral was not because Trump's name was dropped in this, and it was not because fuck white people was mentioned by the assailants. That was something that became integral in how this event was branded as Black Lives Matter kidnapping, but the actual viral nature of this story is solely localized in the heinousness of the act and also the fact that it was streamed for the world to see. Yes, you've got it flat ass backwards. The fact that this was streamed online and was available for independent media people to pick it up is precisely why it went viral. That and how heinous the crime itself was. And on a personal note, I would just like to take a second to reflect upon some of the names of these assailants, particularly the names of the women. I mean, Tesfaye and Tanisha. I mean, this is how you can tell that whoever parented these kids positively hated them. Because if you hate your kids, you're going to give them a dumbass name that's going to make it impossible for them to get a freaking job anywhere other than working at McDonald's. Tanisha. And look at the last name, Covington. All right, everybody bitches about cultural appropriation. Do you think that these African Americans in their ancestral land had names like Covington? I seriously doubt it. And apologies for my muddled African accent. Sometimes it can get mixed in a little bit with a Jamaican one. Just force a habit there. Since video of the attack went viral, racists have used the footage as evidence of the scourge of black-on-white crime, a phenomenon white nationalist leaders say the media ignored. Hey, Salon, and specifically Nico Lang, the dumb shit that wrote this article, from myself and everybody else on YouTube and the online community not associated with any white nationalist movement, fuck you. Fucking dishonest piece of shit. Oh, and by the way, I would just like to state that I am actually going to be skipping the next 3 paragraphs of this thing because basically this author decides to just bitch about Richard Spencer for 3 whole paragraphs. He spends 1 paragraph actually describing the incident itself, leaves out a whole ton of stuff, but boy does he have time to bitch and complain about Richard Spencer. One guy with fairly limited influence in the online community. I can guarantee you up front that most of the people reacting negatively to this don't identify as white nationalist or even alt-right, myself included. While white nationalists use the incident to stoke fears of black people targeting innocent whites, the truth is that hate crimes against white people are relatively rare. 2012 statistics from the Federal Bureau of Investigation shows that of the 3,467 hate crimes reported to police that year, 66.2% were motivated by racial animus against black people. This is despite the fact that African Americans make up just 13.3% of the U.S. population, according to 2015 statistics from the Census Bureau. Meanwhile, just 22% of bias attacks were anti-white. Notice that the statistics that were pulled for this particular article go back to 2012, which was before Black Lives Matter even existed. What I would be more interested in seeing is how much that 22% went up or down after the Black Lives Matter movement came into existence. I have a feeling it's probably gone up fairly significantly. Furthermore, like I said previously, look at what is being said but also what is not being said. 66.2% of blacks are the victims of hate crimes. What is not said is the ethnicity of the people perpetrating the so-called hate crimes against them. Is it white people? Is it Latino Hispanics? Is it someone of Asian origin perhaps? We're not given any information. And furthermore, they pull from census information 3 years later than the statistics from the FBI. A little weird. Instead, this incident is a reminder of the violence that people with disabilities experience in everyday life. The young student, whose name has not been published in the press to protect the privacy of his family, has an intellectual disability, which means that his brain processes information differently than the rest of ours. He was a classmate of Jordan Hill, who invited him over for a slumber party. People with disabilities aren't often the targets of hate crimes. FBI data shows that just over 1% of people who suffer a bias attack have a mental or physical impairment. Instead, this population, which totals over 63 million Americans, is more likely to be the victim of other types of crimes, including rape. 7 articles in to a 17-article news piece, and already we have gone clear off the map away from what was originally being talked about. They spent one paragraph, talking about the actual incident itself, giving us very limited information, then proceeded to go into a 3-paragraph screed about white supremacy, and then now we are going to be treated to an 8 or 9-paragraph screed about how black people are always victims, and then they're going to go into a bunch of anecdotal stories about how mentally handicapped people are the victims of constant sexual assault by people they know or even family members. And they're also going to talk a bit about how the police are dealing with handicapped people in such a brutal fashion. We have this common running theme of fuck the police and fuck white people. You know, sometimes it's hard to tell whether you're reading a story by Salon or if you're listening to a song by NWA. Anyway, I'm going to skip over most of the rest of this article because it's all a bunch of unrelated crap, and I'm just going to get to the conclusion. This attack isn't about what people like Spencer want you to believe it is. White supremacists hope to use this incident to stoke the flames of racial hate, but it's about a society that lacks compassion for people with disabilities. All right, I can't even get through that paragraph without saying something about this. First off, the people that are stoking the flames of racial animus are the people featured in this video who published it and said all of that racially charged stuff. If none of that crap was said, if this wasn't published, we wouldn't even be talking about this. Furthermore, you say we lack compassion for the mentally handicapped? Why are you trying to bury this story? By your own admission, the victim is mentally handicapped. What the hell? And a nation that still doesn't know how to address it. No, we are actually addressing it right now. Yes, I have to stop again here for just a second. We are addressing it. You, Salon, and Mr. Lang are the ones who don't want to address it because you're wanting to talk about everything else except for what happened here. Continuing on to the end here. Too many differently abled people are assaulted, hurt, and killed each year, and their stories rarely become trending topics. Well, you should be happy because one just did. It's time to start telling them. We are. I'm going to close this off by expressing my artistic side and showing you some visuals of just what kind of exploits Black Lives Matter have become better known for. The reason why these 4 individuals who clearly committed a hate crime, even according to the dumbasses running the city of Chicago, is because it falls in line with some of the other truly vile, contemptible, and utterly violent crap that said movement is known for. We don't need for the people in question to go out and actually say the words Black Lives Matter to know that they were most likely influenced by the nonsense that they've been pushing. All of the activism that's been going on of late has been tied into this movement in some way, shape, or form when it comes to violent outbursts by black individuals looking to make a political statement. And I'm sorry to inform you on this, Salon, but when somebody says fuck Trump and fuck white people, it's a political issue. You don't like it, you can cry about it, you can bellyache, but that's not going to change anything. And on a final note, I would just like to state for the record, the 4 people who did this, retarded. The people running the city of Chicago, retarded. But their mental retardation actually pales in comparison to that of outlets like Salon.com, who actually make their living putting out stuff that makes people dumber. The thing that is infuriating about the kind of mental retardation that Salon engages in is that they think that their audience and their adversaries are even more retarded than they are. And that is a true insult to human intelligence. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.